Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Before I get started, I'll just tell you a little bit about me. This is my first semester with Pepperdine. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a challenge with the online teaching, so I really appreciate this course. It's been a great experience. A very short background is I was a charter school teacher, private school teacher and administrator, charter school principal, and now I work in the home office of a charter network of 21 schools in Los Angeles. So it feels great to be talking to secondary teachers as they're entering the profession. Okay, so one thing that I learned is that I am not supposed to give away the whole list on one slide. So we talked about that. So I was tempted on this first slide to list the 3 things that I learned. I won't do that. I'll just list the first one and lead you guys here. So something that was talked about that's new for me is spicing it up with pictures. So I don't use a lot of pictures in my presentations, but I see the value of it, particularly in replacing the entire background with a picture like this, because as you guys can see, I was using a pretty boring gray background, and I even changed the background on that on some other slides I'll point out. But that website that was recommended, the Stock Exchange, that's great, and I particularly appreciate that it clarifies which photographs are the ones you pay for, that there's rights involved with it, and which ones you can just copy and paste and not worry about being sued or giving credit where credit's due. So animations don't work, and I probably asked this question to everybody in different ways in different times, hoping that somebody someday would say, oh no, guess what, they figured it out, we know how to do it now. But I still want to talk about some of the alternatives. So you can't have text fly in or sneakily appear, but what you can do, which I think is important, so that if you can't do all the action on the slide, it's pretty clear that your action has to come from slide to slide or by going to other places. So you can use application sharing. And I think this is probably one of the few things that I hadn't explored at all until the course. I had explored the whiteboard, I had explored the chat window, polling, doing different backgrounds, and all that stuff, but hadn't switched to another application, which is definitely a way to spice things up. So you could go to a web page, such as Biodigital Human. This is a free Google add-on if you guys are interested, and you can go all through the human body, look at all different parts. Not exactly part of the curriculum for my class, but I think it's really interesting anyway. So maybe one of you guys will find a use for it, but it's free. One that was brought up during the class was Wolfram Alpha, which I had talked about. I had actually already used with my students, and in particular we went to the application and we started entering things. And if you enter any mathematical expression or anything at all, it just immediately pops up with anything that you would want to know about it, and maybe a lot of things that you didn't want to know or didn't think you wanted to know about it. One thing I wasn't aware of, and maybe it's just because I hadn't visited it in a while, was all these background icons that, if you hover over them, take you on journeys to various different places to learn new things. So that's definitely an amazing website. So 2 things that I'll be implementing. One, I will attempt to do online quizzes and assessments. I haven't gone there yet, but I am excited to. And the instructions you gave were extremely detailed. I think I need to go back through it like 4 times, and then I'll be ready. But I appreciate erring on the side of a ton of detail rather than going on the side of the quick and dirty approach, which may get you started but not totally understand it. So I haven't gone there yet, but I feel that it's a very important thing to do. The other thing I did, and I brought it with me. How many people already got this book? Okay, here's what it looks like. So, and I was so excited because it came in the mail yesterday, so I was like, oh great, I can actually bring it in. This is a fantastic book. I guess her first book was Slidology, which is restricted more towards PowerPoints. But this is a book that's much broader, and it talks about what does it mean to do presentations in general, why so many presentations are so boring, and why so many presentations, and maybe more importantly, presenters are so successful. And it has to do with some of the classic notions of story, and she even talks about the hero's journey and Joseph Campbell and how that was used in Star Wars, which I knew before, but I hadn't heard that tied into this idea of giving a presentation, that it's essential for it to be a story. Oh, and by the way, I don't know if anybody caught this, but I picked the guitar because it's resonating as a little image to represent the book. Figured I'd point that out just in case everybody missed it. So feedback on the course. This was great. I learned a lot. All the images that you saw came from that website. And more importantly, I have many leads to follow up on. And I think that's always a good sign of a course, is that you learn something within the course, but it doesn't stop there. And I certainly have a lot to learn and a lot more things to investigate. So I appreciate all the leads that we got. And I especially appreciate Hong, who, taking advantage of technology, scheduled an online session for me to get caught up to the in-person session that I missed. So that was excellent too. The only real suggestion I have is some more clarity on assignments from the assignments tab versus other assignments. And I think this is an issue that's broader than this course, and maybe you guys have found it in your own courses, but the assignments is where they officially turn something in. It receives an official grade. But if you ask people to respond to a thread in discussion or share something with somebody else, the accountability isn't really clear. I think. And so I just wanted to think about that. And in this course too, I was like, I want to make sure I do everything. Am I doing everything? Is everybody else doing everything? And I think it's safe to say that we all did the assignments, because you know, if you click submit and it sends you an email that says, you've submitted this assignment has been received. But with discussion threads, I'm always unclear on like, what is the adequate amount of participation and who's reading this? And this is in other courses I've taken too. And discussion threads have never been my thing, and I want to learn how to get past my bias against it and find out a way to use it. But it's hard for me because all the threads have separate conversations, and in my mind, whether it's a blog or something else, I want it all to be in one place. And I feel like as an instructor and as a student, sometimes the discussion thread isn't fully realized, that it's only a small subset or a little limited communication. So that's something I keep thinking about. And if you guys have ideas for how to make discussion threads more powerful or just alternatives, I'm very open to those suggestions. All right, well, thanks for joining. I think I'm under the 10-minute mark. But I'd like to add that polling was also talked about a lot in the course. That was something I had already been using, and it's just an incredible strategy. Where I work, we recently bought the Turning Point technologies, and so now we've been using that at all of our principal professional developments and our assistant principal professional developments. So particularly if you guys have an in-person class size of double the amount of people in this room, it's a really powerful tool to have them poll and to have them click on the clicker, and there's no limit to how much you can do in regard to saving that data, sharing that data with them. You can make it anonymous to them knowing what each other are voting, but you could keep track of the votes or you could not. And one example of what we used it for that was really powerful was we had a rubric to assess principals' effectiveness, and it had all these different indicators for everything from developing school culture to academic achievement to operational stuff, budget stuff, but we didn't have a rubric for assistant principals. And clearly there was going to be some overlap, but clearly it's not the same job, and maybe some things are just the principal's responsibility. We didn't know, we didn't want to make that decision for them, so what we did is we put up every indicator on the principal rubric and had all the principals vote, I want this to be just me, or I want this to be me and the assistant principal. And then we did the same thing with the assistant principals, and we compared all that data and shared it with them, and it was huge. It was a really, I couldn't think of a better way to do it, where they knew that there was no fear of giving their opinion, but we collected a huge amount of data in 10 minutes. There was no surveying, there was no hoping everybody responds. As long as they were all there at the same time, we went indicator by indicator, a couple seconds each, and it was really powerful. The other thing is, I like to include short videos and recommend that you keep the link to a video in Notepad or some other place. So if you have a link to a video in your PowerPoint presentation, the problem is the link is dead in the presentation. They can't click on it. You're going to want to put it in the chat window, but you may not be able to easily copy and paste it out of the PowerPoint itself. So I just recommend either Microsoft Word or Notepad or somewhere have all the links that you want to use in order so that you can just quickly copy it and paste it into the chat window and say, okay, click on this now. That'll save you a lot of time. Okay, does anybody have any questions?
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.